Sonnet 50, the 5 steps. Last 2 lines, the rhyming couplet. Last words of each line. Break it into sections. The breath is yours, the rhyming couplet. For that same groan doth put this in my mind. My grief lies onward and my joy behind. Some bad news. That same groan, that same problem doth put this in my mind. My grief lies onward, my joy behind. So bad things are coming. This is unusual for a Shakespeare sonnet because usually the ending is some joyful resolution or some insight. Last words. Way, end, say, friend. So end, friend. Maybe it's about the end of a friendship, something like that. Woe me, know thee. Well, what word stands out? Woe, perhaps. So something bad's happening. On, hide, groan, side. So this groan word again. So some bad news. So we've got friend, we've got groan. So I don't know, some problem with your friends. I don't know. Okay, let's break it into the 4 sections. So we put a line under line 4, a line under line 8, a line under line 12. A sonnet being 14 lines, that's 3 quatrains and the rhyming couplet. Now we'll mark in the breaths. So the breaths you have to mark are the sentence endings. First thing we'll do, we'll start with the start and the end. I'll put a forward slash like that. Then we'll look for the sentence endings. That's full stop, exclamation mark, question mark. So we've got one at the end of line 4, got the exclamation mark. And that's it, then just the full stop at the end. So just to note, this I think is the MIT version, and often I use the Penguin version of the sonnets, and you'll find different punctuation in different versions. But I just take the philosophy, certainly in doing these videos, that whatever has been laid down in the version that I've got, that's the version I'm going to follow. That's the thought process, because understanding punctuation is understanding thoughts. We've only got 1, 2, 3 breaths. So where else can we punctuate in the first quatrain, the first 4 lines? Now, an even sonnet, you would breathe at the end of every other line. But it depends on the sense. The sense always comes first over any poetic rules. How heavy do I journey on my way when what I seek, my weary traveller's end, doth teach that ease and that repose to say, thus far the miles are measured from thy friend. Okay, so at the end of line 3, you've got no punctuation here, but line 4 is speech, so there should be punctuation at the end, after the word say. Maybe we can do the first 3 lines in one breath. How heavy do I journey on the way when what I seek, my weary traveller's end, doth teach that ease and that repose to say, thus far the miles are measured from thy friend. Okay, yeah, we'll try like that. Next 4 lines, next quatrain. The beast that bears me, tired with my woe, plods duly on to bear that weight in me. And if by some instinct that wretch did know his rider loved not speed, being made from thee. Okay, I think we'll call that even and put the breath at the end of line 6 after me. You've got a comma and it feels okay. What's going on in quatrain 3? Okay, we've got a semicolon at the end of of Q3 line 2's the word hide. So I think we can just technically mark the breath in there and trust that that's going to be okay. So I'm not reading it, I'm doing as much technically as I can. Reading it's going to be the end of this process. Okay, the Césures. What are the Césures? It's the natural break between the line. Is this a dagger that I see before me? So Shakespeare lines, like most English lines, are formed of a couple of phrases. If you're going out, get us some bread. If you're going out, get us some bread. You know, it's 2 phrases. How heavy do I journey on my way? How heavy do I journey on my way? How heavy do I journey on my way? Now this is a strange one because strictly speaking, you'd probably put it at after I. How heavy do I journey on my way? But I think that really breaks up the sense. maybe it's better to say, how heavy do I journey on my way? I'm going to put it in there. When what I seek, my weary travellers end. Now, at seek, we've got a comma already at the caesure. When what I seek, my weary travellers end, doth teach that ease, and that repose to say, after ease, thus far the miles are measured from thy friend. Thus far the miles are measured from thy friend. So it's after miles, it's not after are. Thus far the miles are measured from thy friend, because are is part of the next bit. If you're going out, get me some bread. No. If you're going out, get me some bread. I mean, all we're doing is technically looking at how people speak normally. There's no real mystery to this. But because we're dealing with difficult language, difficult poetry, it's good to go through these things to let it start to sink in. So I've marked it in with little lines there, but usually I'd mark it with like a V or on a printed page an asterisk. How heavy do I journey on my way when what I seek, my weary traveller's end, doth teach that ease and that repose to say, thus far the miles are measured from thy friend. So we're on this journey and I'm weary because I'm getting further away from the person I love. The beast that bears me, tired with my woe, plods duly on to bear that weight in me. As if by some instinct the wretch did know his rider loved not speed being made from thee. So it's saying his horse is going slowly as if it knows that I don't like speed because speed only takes me away from you. So it's as if myself and the horse are in sync. The bloody spur cannot provoke him on that sometimes anger thrusts into his side, which heavily he answers with a groan, more sharp to me than spurring to his side. So when I'm spurring my horse on, it doesn't make him go any faster. And I'm doing it out of anger, not really because I want him to go faster. And it's when the beast groans with pain, that hurts me more than the spurring to his side. Well, you'll hurt more because of the beast groaning. The beast is by you sticking spurs in him. It's a bit weird like that, but I think it's to do with the physical pain isn't as bad as the mental anguish to do with leaving friends. For that same groan doth put this in my mind. My grief lies onward and my joy behind. So we're making sense of the third quatrain in the rhyming couplet, which is unusual. Usually it's quite separate. But, you know, it wasn't a full stop at the end of Q3, which again is unusual. It's a colon, which will have a breath. For that same groan doth put this in my mind, my grief lies onward, my joy behind. So the beast's anguish just reminds me of my misery. So, how heavy do I journey on the way, when what I seek, my weary traveller's end, doth teach that ease and that repose to say, thus far the miles are measured from my friend. The beast that bears me, tired with my woe, plods duly on to bear that weight in me, as if by some instinct the wretch did know that his rider loved not speed, being made from thee. The bloody spur cannot provoke him on, that sometimes anger thrusts into his side, which heavily he answers with a groan, more sharp to me than spurring to his side. For that same groan doth put this in my mind, my grief lies onward, and my joy behind.